What it do, NMA crew? Hey man, listen, today I'm going to be ranting about Raising Arizona as requested of me on Patreon by ISOP. If you guys want a rant request for some odd reason, $5 a month plus patrons, everybody gets one a month. So, this movie, it's interesting because it's a Coen Brothers film, which I just watched my first of, which was No Country for Old Men. And the parallels are very immediately obvious, especially in the setting and the overall tightness of how much the setting influences the film on every level, from the sound design to the theming. It's all very, very, very much consistent with this desert setting, but in a much different way than in No Country for Old Men, of course, because it's just tonally the opposite movie. Even though there are a lot of parallels to be drawn, of course, there's the character that sort of represents reckoning and the balancing of the universe and consequence and all those things in both. Though you can see how they're dealt with very differently here and in No Country for Old Men. It kind of feels just like another side to the same coin. Definitely, this one's very goofy. Reminded me, honestly, of another one that ISOP recommended me a while back, Bottle Rocket, Wes Anderson's directorial debut, to my knowledge. I don't know, there might have been something before that. In its tone, because it's about these Chunibyo-esque characters, like man-children, basically. And this one of the key differences is that in this universe, there's not a single character that's serious. There's more straight men in Bottle Rocket. There's more people to sort of contrast the crazy personality off of. This one goes for a more raw, chaotic vibe, even in its aesthetic. A lot of times it'd be a little like messy and kind of gross, and you got these guys with milk dripping down their nasty unkept beards and tracking mud all in the house. It's kind of nasty. It's pretty nasty. It kind of reminds me of a Man-Child Marsh, or like one of those old Endless Jest videos where he's just like totally maxing out the grossness factor, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm all here for this. This is not really my thing, but I definitely respect it as a storytelling technique. The whole thing is about being like a chicken with your head cut off, running around in life. I'm going to make a lot of comparisons to Bottle Rocket because I think they're very, very apt. Bottle Rocket was sort of about trying to maintain that childlike sense of freedom and innocence into adulthood and the struggles that there may be with that. While this one, on the other hand, is trying to grow into somebody who is responsible and how it's never too late. One of the nice motifs that I picked up on here was the cars turning around. There were more shots than I can count on one hand of cars turning around in this movie. It's about making a U-turn, making corrections. Of course, the very beginning of the movie is about the guy going to prison and then getting out and then going back and then getting out and then going back. Basically, he's stuck in a cycle, and it seems like nothing can get through to him. But it's pretty much the idea of the worst thing you could ever do be giving up. It's a totally chaotic landscape. There's a lot of moving pieces in this movie pretty much from the outset, with the escaped criminals and the police obviously on the chase, and then, Nicholas, is it Nick Cage? I don't know actors, but I think it's supposed to be that guy who's really famous. Amazing performance, by the way. There's like a lot of factions who are all kind of like have their hands in. There's like his swinger boss who is like, hey, I think your wife's cute and my wife thinks you're cute. And he like punches him. It's interesting because it's so chaotic that you never really get a chance to breathe. And it can definitely feel like I'm assuming it's Nick Cage's character because I vaguely remember hearing that. It can seem like his character is entirely incorrigible. Like, you cannot get through to him, like it can't be done. He has a dream of this guy who is just the physical manifestation. He's basically the Grim Reaper of death. He is consequence. He is the end coming. This guy's just been like running and like not looking back this entire time. He's just like running forward and panickedly going on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing and praying everything works out. But not even being able to stop and pray. And you see that literally reflected in some of the chase scenes. It's just like a perfect little microcosm for his entire life to that point. There's a lot of sort of extended metaphors, I think, scenes in here, not just in the dream sequences, but as I mentioned there in the chase scene, in the scene where they're going to grab the baby. It's definitely an extremely thematically tight movie. Uh, there's a lot of funny bits. Uh, there are some more bits that didn't land as well with me personally, weren't as much my style. Sometimes when it was leaning more into the slapstick stuff, but I overall felt there was a very consistent brand of humor within the movie that if you gel with, you will appreciate the entire movie for. Because it also has a very kinetic directorial style, a lot of like bizarre POV shots, a la Love and Pop by Hideaki. Not quite as like crazy as like the Love and Pop shots, but the characters all speak in an exceptionally literary tone. Like they're all like low IQ and kind of wacky and don't think anything through, but they speak in these eloquent proverbs that can just be applied to life in so many different ways, which is really silly, but it's something that was also in No Country for Old Men. Just another parallel to be drawn there. I would say overall, this movie has an extremely strong aesthetic, extremely strong thematic core about, you know, the nature of parenting and how that ties into the gross aesthetics and, you know, babies, you know, puking, changing diapers. You know, it's just kind of how it goes. It's a little bit messy. It's a little bit chaotic. Such goes life. But it's a very hopeful movie about still being able to move forward. And in many ways, children sort of represent that undying human spirit to continue to grow and evolve and improve and iterate upon yourself. So it's definitely a really good movie. Some of the things that I didn't like as much were some of the more like slapstick and gross out humor wasn't as much to my taste personally, though there were times I could see like the layers of subversion happening. It's an extremely intentional movie, painstaking, like very, very detailed with everything feeding back into this main idea. I was like with it all the way. I was never bored or anything. It was just some of the aesthetics didn't appeal to me as much. And then some of the comedy didn't appeal to me as much. But overall, it was just such a great movie. It just perfectly did what it set out to do and communicated it in such an emotional way. I could see this being someone's favorite movie. You know, I have no problem. That's not ridiculous to say that. That's not ridiculous. That's probably pretty much everything I have to say about it. Yeah, have a good one, y'all. Just kidding. I'm back with a shittier mic. I just wanted to finish up some of my points because I was listening back and I realized that I left a couple of things unsaid. I really like how he is having his dream about this guy, the physical manifestation of reckoning coming along, and he's so anxious. He has all these underlying anxieties about something coming for him, about there being something in the future where it's all just going to run out. And by the end, he supplants that with a much more optimistic view of the future, which sort of represents his perspective broadening to being more concerned outwardly, being less concerned with himself and the consequences for his own actions, but rather what he can do and the relationships that he can cultivate moving forward, which I think was really great. And I think I might have understated just how intentional this movie is. I mean, so many iconic shots steeped in iconic imagery. It's just, yeah, on every level of production, this is just such a meticulous, painstaking movie. I was very impressed by that. You guys have a good one for real this time.